Hi, how you doing? Hey, welcome back. Yeah, the job is progressing along fine. We got so many things going on at once. It's exciting. Got the rough and electric happening. We're got the most of the roughing of the plumbing, the drains all done. Hot and cold. We're working on a sprinkler system, tying that in. Got some ductwork going for the HVAC system. So a lot of things are in process, and we're hoping to wrap it up soon. All these little details. So come, I'll show you what's going on. Yeah, at this point in time, there's so many different things going on that, we have to do that balancing act. Some of the material might be shorted on some of the plumbing things, so we move into the HVAC equipment. We got the supply pipes mainly in, and now we're working on some of the return ductwork for that, so to make sure that it's a balanced system that we pull from each one of the large areas, and, like this cathedral ceiling. As you can see up at the peak up here, we're definitely going to have a grill up in there so we can take that air that may be hot and stale up at the peak of this cathedral when we're doing a cooling system. So again, when we talk about indoor comfort and eco-friendly home, you really have to think about all the things, not just heating. We're in New England, that's the main thing we think about is heating, but we have to do cooling as well and dehumidification. Also have an air-to-air exchanger that's going to be tied into this whole system to kind of work together as one. We'll pull from kitchen and bath areas and then dump that fresh air back into a common or into a return of an HVAC system. Like I said, we have an air-to-air exchanger. It's that white device up there in the attic. We're going to get that mounted and pull our fresh air from the outside as well as exhaust from that left-hand side and then tie into the system. I personally like all my grills or ductwork coming out of the ceiling. Again, mainly I'm focusing on cooling in a northern environment, so I like to keep the ductwork all up above, so we're fed from above. So in this case, everything is fed from the attic. Our system for our first floor comes down some of the interior walls of the second floor to get to our first floor, and then again for the second floor we would just be coming from the ceiling. Now for heating, we're doing a radiant floor system, so that's our main focus on this first floor is, of course, that we're heating at ground level and heating from underneath. So again, ductwork, HVAC system on this house is we're focusing more on the cooling aspect and dehumidification. So again, my personal preference, I like to keep ducts, grills, things like that, all up in the ceilings, then in the floor, have things fall down in there, obstructions with your furniture placement and other things. So in this system, as you look up, you can see, there's a lot going on because we have two different systems. And, right now it's still in that rough-in stage. Not everything is totally tied into the main plenum. Well, as you can see, there's a lot of PEX piping kind of poking out of the ceilings here. And what we want to do is tie the sprinkler system in. Well, it's designed that the cold water line or your potable is fed through the sprinkler loop. So there's a design mechanism through a whole process, has to be certified, but part of the cold water line actually goes through the 3 different levels of sprinkler systems. And like I say, we're just at that point of rough-in right now, and now they'll start putting the brackets and tying it in, but we have a system on the second floor, we have a system on the first floor, and there's a system in the basement, and they're all kind of interconnect and all kind of live together. But whenever a fixture you turn on, you flush water through there. So this way we don't have any stagnant water, Legionella, those kind of things that would be in a typical sprinkler loop where it just sits there water all the time. Well, this idea that it constantly gets flushed out as we use things. Yeah, if you look at the wiring here, it looks like a lot going on, but once we tie in everything, again, we just pulled the wires and now we got to splice and put them in the boxes and make all those connections, it'll clean it up. My pet peeve is when you walk in a room and you get a bank of 6 switches, you never know which ones to turn on. So we're going to do some home automation here where it would just be more of a keypad. When you walk into a room, be a series of scenes or different lights that we would turn on. In this case, this happens to be this wall is the headboard right here. I always like double outlets on either side of the bed, your clock, your chargers, all these other things. Some being switched. Another thing that, again, for me, every outlet in bedrooms I like to do, I call it half and half, which is one outlet's constant power, the other outlet is switched off a switch when you walk in. So if you have table lamps, or my wife likes to put, like Christmas time, the candles in the window, that way you can turn on a switch and go on from there. But it's just more of a convenience factor. In this case, this is a headboard. There'll be some lights above for reading, so there'll be kind of his and her switches on either side, just trying to clean that up. As you can see right here, we're pointing at some stuff. Well, the bedroom layout has changed a little bit from first time. The headboard was more over towards the windows, and as things progress, we see that's not practical. So now we can see that the headboard is going to back up to the bathroom and the plumbing. So we got to do some noise protection. So there's going to be some soundproofing as we go on in here. This whole thing will be some kind of insulation put in here for noise deadening. And then we're going to have some rails going across to isolate that wall from in here. So if somebody's sleeping, whether they went to bed earlier than the other one or slept in the morning, that using the bathroom or running water or something like that is not going to wake up the other person in the party here. Yeah, another thing to really think about, you go through all this effort, you roughen your electric, your plumbing, your heating, you get all that, and then you come by and everything gets sheetrocked and they cut out these things, and then you realize after you move in, wow, there's no outlet on this wall. What happens a lot of times is sheetrockers just go right over an outlet or fixture or some other things like that, without even knowing. You can barely perceive that. So I always like to tell people it's good to video document right before you sheetrock or before you insulate, is to kind of go through so you get an idea, just do a visual of a wall, where things are, mechanicals, whether it be the electric, heating, plumbing, all these other things. So if you need to refer back to it at a later date, you can do that. We always do with radiant floor tubing, like before you pour a slab and you have it down in there, it's nice to document if somebody has to drill or do something. You can get a good idea by going back and looking at some of that footage, and you can see, okay, I was 6 inches off a wall or 3 inches or whatever that dimension is. You get an idea of spacing, and if you have to make a penetration, you can do it reasonably comfortable that you're not going to hit a tubing. So again, try to document your process. You could do it with still camera, that works too, but a video tends to work the best. That way you can scan all the walls, see all the different things. Like I was saying, all of a sudden it's sheetrocked and there's no outlet here. I could almost kind of see that that's about halfway over in the wall. Get an idea, try to figure out where that is, backs up to the plumbing wall of the bathroom. I could probably know where that outlet is. So it's good to try to document all that. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in process, from the sprinkler system rough-in to the drain, the hot and cold, the electrical, HVAC system, a lot happening. I'm telling you, it was pretty warm out these last couple days. We were actually able to grab a portable air conditioner and put it in the window here, and I'm telling you, with this super insulation of the walls, it's actually even making a big difference right now that we can be somewhat comfortable inside and doing that. But again, nobody wants to have a window shaker like that. We want to have a permanent system. We want to have it ducted. We don't want to have to look at or listen or do anything else like that. So that's the whole idea of doing a central or built-in system. And actually, saying that, we're going to get a manufacturer in here that makes HVAC equipment to kind of give us some ins and outs about system design and installation. So stay tuned. Got some great information for you.